Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Endeavour and watched the stars through the main window. After 6 months of travel, they had finally reached their destination. Alpha Centauri glowed bright ahead of them, and somewhere in that system, humanity hoped to find their first alien neighbors. "Captain, we are getting close to the third planet," Lieutenant Martinez said from his seat at the controls. "The signals are coming from there, lots of them." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. For 300 years, humans had dreamed of this moment. First contact with another intelligent species. The radio signals they had picked up from Earth showed clear signs of technology and organization. Someone was out there, and they were about to meet them. "Take us in slowly," Sarah ordered. "Keep all weapons powered down. Send the friendship message on all frequencies." The Endeavour moved toward the planet. Through their telescopes they could see cities covering large parts of the surface. Lights moved in organized patterns between the cities. Ships traveled in neat lines between orbital stations. Everything looked peaceful and well organized. "Captain, I am picking up hundreds of different radio signals," Communications Officer Park reported. "They are using many different languages, but the computer is starting to find patterns. This looks like a major trade hub." Sarah smiled. A trade hub meant multiple species working together. This was even better than they had hoped. Humans would not just be meeting one alien race, but many. "Any response to our friendship message?" she asked. Officer Park checked his equipment. "Nothing yet, Captain, but with all the traffic here, maybe they are just busy." Sarah nodded. The planet below was clearly home to an advanced civilization. Large space stations orbited at regular intervals. Ships moved between them in organized patterns that suggested strict traffic control. Everything was clean and efficient in a way that impressed her. "Captain, I am detecting a problem," Lieutenant Martinez said. His voice sounded worried. "All the ship traffic near us has stopped moving." Sarah looked at the display screen. He was right. The neat lines of ships that had been moving between stations were now floating motionless in space. None of them were moving toward the Endeavour, but none were moving away either. "Maybe they are just being careful," Sarah said. "We are strangers. Here, they probably want to study us first." Officer Park looked up from his station. "Captain, all radio signals from the planet have gone quiet. A few minutes ago there were hundreds of different transmissions. Now there is almost nothing." Sarah felt a cold feeling in her stomach. This was not the welcome they had expected. She had imagined curious aliens asking questions, offering help, maybe even inviting them down to the planet. Instead, it seemed like their arrival had made everyone stop what they were doing. "Keep trying to make contact," she ordered. "Use every frequency we know. Tell them we come in peace and just want to talk." For 2 hours, the Endeavour sent message after message. They used mathematical concepts that any advanced species should understand. They sent pictures showing humans and Earth. They even played music, hoping that would show their peaceful intentions. Nothing worked. The ships near them stayed frozen in place. The radio signals from the planet remained quiet. It was as if their presence had caused everything to shut down. "Captain, we are getting a response," Officer Park said suddenly. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. "It is very weak and the translation is not perfect, but I think someone is trying to talk to us." "Put it on the main speakers," Sarah ordered. A strange voice filled the bridge. The computer was working hard to translate it, and the words came out choppy and unclear. "Unknown vessel ... please state purpose and origin. You're not ... on approved list ... Quote. Sarah grabbed the microphone. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earthship Endeavour. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We come in peace and hope to establish friendly relations with your people." They waited. After several minutes, the voice came back. "Earth ... not recognized. Please hold position." "Checking records." "At least they are talking to us now," Lieutenant Martinez said quietly. But Sarah was starting to worry. Not recognized? How was that possible? Earth had been sending radio signals into space for over a century. Any advanced civilization should have detected them by now. The waiting continued. An hour passed, then 2 hours. The other ships in the area remained motionless. The planet below stayed quiet. Finally, the strange voice returned. Earth vessel, no records found. No invitation sent. Please state how you obtained faster than light travel. Sarah looked around the bridge. Her crew members all had confused expressions. No invitation? Was first contact supposed to require an invitation? We developed faster than light travel ourselves, Sarah replied. Our scientists worked for many years to solve the problem. We launched this mission to explore space and meet other intelligent species. Another long wait. When the voice returned, it sounded even more confused than before. Faster than light travel, developed independently. This is not ... Please hold position, consulting higher authority. Dr. Reeves, the mission's chief scientist, moved closer to Sarah. Captain, this is strange. They seemed surprised that we have FTL capability. Like they were not expecting us to develop it on our own. Sarah was thinking the same thing. Everything about this situation felt wrong. The organized traffic patterns, the mention of approved lists and invitations, the surprise at human technology, it all suggested something she had not expected. Dr. Reeves, what if we are not the first? She asked quietly. What if there is already a galactic civilization out there? What if everyone else has been talking to each other for a long time? Dr. Reeves looked worried. That would explain a lot: the organized traffic, the standardized communication frequencies, even their surprise at seeing us. If there is an established galactic community and we were never invited to join... The implications were huge. Humans had always assumed that first contact would involve meeting one or two alien species and slowly building relationships. They had never considered that they might be the only ones left out of an existing galactic civilization. Officer Park interrupted their conversation. Captain, I am picking up signals again. Lots of them, but they are not coming from the planet. They are coming from all over this part of space. Sarah looked at the display screen. New signals were appearing everywhere. Ships in distant parts of the system were talking to each other in rapid, coded transmissions. It was like watching a massive communication network wake up and start sharing information. They are talking about us, Dr. Reeves said, studying the patterns. I cannot understand the language, but the timing and distribution of these signals, they are spreading news of our arrival to other systems. The strange voice came back one more time. Earth vessel. You are directed to remain in current POSITIO and do not approach planet or stations. Official response will be provided... Please wait... Sarah felt anger building inside her. Wait? They had traveled for 6 months to get here? They had come in peace, offering friendship and cooperation? And now they were being told to sit in empty space and wait for permission to talk? Captain, what are your orders? Lieutenant Martinez asked. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was a galactic civilization that humans had never been invited to join. For reasons she did not understand, humanity had been left out of the greatest community in the galaxy. We wait, she said finally, for now, but we also learn. I want continuous monitoring of all signals in this system. I want to know what they are saying about us and who they are saying it to. And I want a full report sent back to Earth immediately. As the Endeavor settled into a holding pattern, Sarah made a promise to herself. Humanity had spent centuries dreaming of joining a galactic community. If that community already existed and had chosen to exclude Earth, then humans would find out why, and they would decide what to do about it. The first day of first contact was ending very differently than anyone had expected. Instead of celebration, there was confusion. Instead of welcome, there was suspicion. And instead of joining a galactic community, humanity had discovered they were the only ones who had never been invited to the party. Dr. Reeves joined Sarah at the main window. Together they watched the distant lights of alien ships in space. Stations, everything looked so organized, so established, so permanent. How long do you think this has been going on? Dr. Reeves asked. Sarah thought about the organized traffic patterns, the standardized frequencies, the complete surprise at humanity's existence. A long time, she said. maybe thousands of years. And Earth was never contacted. No, we were never contacted. They stood in silence, looking out at a galaxy that suddenly seemed much larger and more complicated than they had ever imagined. Humanity had taken their first steps into space only to discover that everyone else had been walking around together for centuries. But Sarah Chun was not the type of person to give up easily. If humans had been excluded from the galactic community, there had to be a reason. And if there was a reason, it could be understood and possibly changed. Dr. Reeves, how long would it take to analyze all the communication patterns in this system? With our current equipment, months, maybe years? Why? Sarah smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Because we are going to figure out exactly what we walked into. And then we are going to decide what humanity is going to do about it. The Endeavour continued its lonely orbit, surrounded by the lights and signals of a galactic civilization that had somehow forgotten to include Earth in its plans. But Captain Sarah Chun and her crew were no longer just explorers hoping to make friends. They had become intelligence gatherers, trying to understand their place in a galaxy that seemed to have no place for them. The age of human isolation in space had officially begun, but it would not last forever. Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the zero-gravity observation room of the research ship Curiosity and watched alien cargo vessels move through the shipping lanes of the Kepler system. For 2 years now, she had been studying galactic civilization from the outside, trying to understand why humanity had been left in the dark. The Curiosity was built for one purpose: to listen and learn. Unlike the Endeavour and other human exploration ships, the Curiosity stayed hidden in asteroid fields and behind moons, recording everything the aliens said and did. Elena led a team of 20 scientists whose job was to crack the code of galactic society. Dr. Vasquez, we have something new, called out Dr. Kim from his workstation. The translation program just finished processing last month's communications from the council headquarters. Elena pushed off from the window and floated over to Kim's station. The young linguist had been working day and night to understand the alien languages. After 2 years, they could now understand about 60% of galactic standard communications. What did you find? Elena asked. Kim pointed to his screen, where lines of translated text scrolled past. Look at this discussion from their high command. They are talking about us again. Elena read the translation carefully. Her stomach dropped as she understood what she was seeing. The aliens were not just ignoring humanity, they were actively discussing what to do about the human problem. Show me the full conversation, Elena said. Kim brought up the complete file. Elena read through pages of alien debate about humanity's expansion into space. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. The Galactic Council had been watching human activities for 3 years. They knew about every human colony, every space station, every ship. More importantly, they were worried. Listen to this part, Kim said, highlighting a section of text. High Counselor Vexran says humans are expanding too quickly. He thinks we are dangerous because we build military ships along with our exploration vessels. Elena frowned. That was true. Humanity had learned to be careful after the cold reception at Alpha Centauri. Every new colony was protected by armed ships, just in case. But the aliens seemed to think this proved humans were violent. What else? Elena asked. Counselor Thekmar argues that humans should be contacted and guided toward proper development. But look at the response. Elena read the next section. Several council members strongly disagreed with the idea of contact. They pointed to human history, which they had apparently studied in detail. Wars, conflicts, environmental damage, they had a complete record of everything humans had ever done wrong. They think we are barbarians? Elena said quietly. It gets worse, Kim replied. They have been monitoring our communications. They know. We are frustrated about being ignored. Some of them think that proves we are too aggressive for galactic society. Elena felt angry and sad at the same time. Humanity had spent years trying to make peaceful contact, only to discover that the aliens had been judging them in secret. Every human action was being seen through the lens of fear and suspicion. Dr. Vasquez, there is something else. Dr. Singh called from across the room. I have been analyzing the council membership records. Look at this pattern. Elena floated over to Singh's station. The computer expert had created a timeline showing when different species joined the Galactic Council. Every species was contacted when they achieved faster than light travel, Singh explained. But look at the circumstances. The Veltar were contacted after they spent 50 years using FTL only for peaceful exploration. The Zephyrians were contacted after they proved they could travel between stars without any military vessels. Elena studied the pattern. They only contact species that prove they are peaceful first. Exactly. And humans started building armed ships from day one. We never had a peaceful exploration period. From the Council's perspective, we look like a species that brings weapons everywhere we go. The truth was becoming clear. Humanity had not been randomly overlooked. They had been deliberately excluded because the Galactic Council had judged them unworthy of membership. The aliens had been watching and waiting for humans to become more peaceful. Instead, human frustration at being ignored had made them more defensive and militaristic. Show me the most recent discussions, Elena said. Kim brought up files from the past few weeks. The tone of the alien communications had changed. Where before there had been debate about whether to contact humanity, now there was growing agreement that humans were becoming a problem that needed to be solved. They are talking about intervention, Kim said quietly. Some council members want to take direct action to stop human expansion. Elena read through the proposals with growing alarm. The more moderate council members suggested economic pressure, blocking human access to certain star systems or refusing to trade with human colonies. But the militant faction was pushing for something much more serious. Orbital bombardment, Elena whispered, reading the translated text. They want to attack human colonies to force us to submit to council authority. The room fell silent. For 2 years, the research team had assumed that eventually the aliens would contact humanity and everything would work out. Now they were discovering that first contact might come in the form of weapons fire. Dr. Singh pulled up another file. Dr. Vasquez, look at this. It is a motion that was submitted to the council 3 days ago. Elena read the document with growing horror. The Krieg faction, one of the most militaristic species in the council, had formally proposed a limited attack on human space colonies. Their argument was simple. Humans needed to learn that the galaxy already had rules, and those rules would be enforced. What is the status of this motion? Elena asked. Still under debate, Singh replied, but support is growing. The Krieg have convinced 12 other species to back the proposal. Elena looked around the observation room. Through the windows, she could see alien ships moving peacefully through the shipping lanes, going about their normal business. None of them knew that their government was planning to attack human colonies. How many votes do they need? Elena asked. Kim checked his files. The council has 47 member species. They need 24 votes to authorize military action, and they have 12 so far. Yes, but the debate is not over. More species are being convinced every day. Elena made a decision that would change everything. Open a channel to Earth, priority Alpha. Dr. Vasquez, if we break communication silence, they might detect us, Singh warned. They are planning to attack our colonies, Elena replied. Communication silence does not matter anymore. The team worked quickly to establish a secure link to Earth. Within an hour, Elena was speaking directly to Admiral Marcus Rodriguez, the commander of Earth Defense Fleet. Admiral, we have a problem, Elena began. The Galactic Council knows about all our activities. They have been watching us for 3 years, and they are planning military action against human colonies. She could see Admiral Rodriguez's face on the screen, his expression growing more serious as she explained what they had discovered. When she finished, there was a long silence. Dr. Vasquez, how certain are you about this information? The Admiral asked. Very certain. We have been monitoring their communications for 2 years. The translation is good enough to understand their intentions. Admiral Rodriguez nodded slowly. How much time do we have? The motion is still being debated. Maybe weeks, maybe months. But support is growing. And you are sure they see us as a threat? Elena looked at the data on her screens. 2 years of alien communications, all pointing to the same conclusion. Admiral, they think we are dangerous barbarians who need to be controlled or eliminated. Our expansion into space has convinced them that we will never be peaceful enough for galactic society. Admiral Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was hard. Dr. Vasquez, continue monitoring their communications. I want to know the moment that motion passes. And I want detailed information about their military capabilities. What are you planning to do? Elena asked. Whatever it takes to protect human colonies, the Admiral replied. If they want to treat us as a threat, maybe it is time we started acting like one. The communication ended, leaving Elena alone with her team in the hidden research ship. Around them, alien vessels continued their peaceful movements through space, unaware that their government's fear of humanity was about to create the very problem they were trying to prevent. Dr. Kim looked up from his workstation. Dr. Vasquez, I am picking up increased military communications. Several Council species are moving warships toward staging areas. Elena felt a chill run through her. The diplomatic phase was ending. After 3 years of watching and waiting, the Galactic Council was preparing for war. How many ships? She asked. Kim worked at his computer, translating military communications. In real time, hard to tell. The communications are partially encrypted, but it looks like at least 200 vessels from multiple species. 200 alien warships against the scattered human colonies. Elena knew that humanity had been building defenses, but she had no idea if they would be enough. She thought about Admiral Rodriguez's words. If they want to treat us as a threat, maybe it is time we started acting like one. Elena hoped the Admiral had a plan because humanity was about to face its first galactic war. Dr. Singh, prepare a full intelligence package for Earth, Elena ordered. Ship locations, military capabilities, council voting records, everything we have. And Dr. Kim, I want real-time monitoring of all council military communications. What about our mission? Singh asked. We were supposed to stay hidden and observe. Elena looked out at the alien ships moving through space, each one representing a species that had been welcomed into galactic society while humanity was left in the dark. For 3 years, humans had tried to prove they deserved a place at the galactic table. Instead, they had been judged in secret and found wanting. Our mission just changed, Elena said. We are no longer just observers. We are the early warning system for a species that is about to fight for its survival. The research ship Curiosity continued its hidden orbit, but its purpose had transformed overnight. Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team were no longer trying to understand galactic civilization, so they could join it. They were studying an enemy that had already decided humanity was too dangerous to live. In the depths of space, 47 alien species were preparing to teach humanity a lesson about galactic law and order, but they had made one critical mistake. They had given humanity 3 years to prepare for exactly this moment. The watching phase was ending. The war phase was about to begin. High Counselor Vexran of the Alterian Republic stood in the great chamber of Harmony's Rest and watched the debate that would decide humanity's fate. The neutral space station had hosted galactic discussions for over 2,000 years, but never had the atmosphere been so tense. Representatives from 47 species filled the circular chamber. Some floated in special environmental suits, others sat in chairs designed for their unique body types. All of them were focused on the holographic display in the center of the room that showed human colony locations throughout the galaxy. The evidence is clear, declared war leader Groktar of the Krieg Alliance. His massive form dominated one section of the chamber, and his voice boomed through the translation systems. The humans continue to expand despite our warnings. They have now violated sacred space. Vexron felt tired. For weeks, the Council had debated what to do about the human problem. Now they had reached the breaking point that many had predicted. 3 days ago, human colonists had established a mining operation in the Veltar meditation route, a space lane, that had been used for spiritual journeys for over 5 thousand years, the humans claimed they had no knowledge of the root significance. The space appeared empty on all their charts. But to the Council, this was proof that humans were either dangerously ignorant or deliberately disrespectful of galactic customs. The Veltar have requested Council protection, continued Groktar. Their most sacred practice has been disrupted by human industrial activity. How long will we allow this species to damage our civilization? Elder Siren of the Veltar floated forward in her meditation sphere. Her voice was soft, but everyone in the chamber could hear her pain. For 300 generations, my people have traveled the starlight path to achieve spiritual unity. The human machines have filled the route with noise and metal. Our young ones can no longer hear the cosmic harmony. Vexran sympathized with the Veltar, but he also understood the larger problem. Humans were expanding into space without any knowledge of galactic law or custom. They were like children playing with dangerous tools, unaware of the damage they were causing. Perhaps we should finally contact them, suggested Ambassador Thekmar of the Zephyrian Federation. If we explain the importance of the meditation route, surely they will move their mining operation. War leader Groktar slammed one of his massive fists on his podium. Explain? We have been watching them for 3 years. They build weapons, they take resources without permission, and they ignore all established boundaries. These creatures understand only force. The debate continued for hours. Vexran listened to the same arguments he had heard dozens of times before. The moderate species wanted to try diplomacy. The militant species wanted immediate action. The neutral species were slowly being convinced that humans were indeed too dangerous to ignore. I call for a vote, announced Speaker Zetharis from the central podium. Emergency Motion 47 Delta, authorization for limited military intervention against human colonial activities. The proposed action would demonstrate galactic authority and force human compliance with established laws. Vexran knew this moment had been coming for months. The Council's patience had finally run out. As each species cast their vote, he counted the results in his head. 23 votes were needed for the motion to pass. The Krieg Alliance voted yes, along with their usual allies. The peaceful species voted no, as expected. But the deciding votes came from the middle species that had been neutral until the Veltar incident pushed them toward action. Motion 47 Delta passes with 25 votes in favor, announced Speaker Zetharis. Military intervention is authorized. War leader Groktar will coordinate the response. Vexran felt a heavy weight settle on his shoulders. After 3 years of debate, the Council had chosen war over diplomacy. They were about to attack a species that had no idea they were even being watched. War leader Groktar stood and addressed the chamber. The operation will be swift and precise. 200 ships from 12 species will demonstrate overwhelming force at the human colony of Proxima Centauri. The humans will be given a choice: submit to Council authority or face the consequences. What if they resist? Asked Ambassador Thekmar. Groktar's expression was grim. Then we will show them why the galaxy has been peaceful for the past 3,000 years. Order only exists because those who break it are stopped. As the council session ended, Vexran made his way to his private quarters aboard Harmony's. Rest. Through his window he could see ships already beginning to assemble. The council's military response was moving faster than he had expected. His communication system chimed with an incoming message. The face of Admiral Chun appeared on his screen, the same human who had first attempted contact 3 years ago. Vexran had been secretly monitoring human communications, trying to understand their perspective. "This is Admiral Sarah Chun of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. "I am sending this message to all known Council frequencies. We have detected unusual military activity in your space. If this activity is directed toward human colonies, we request immediate diplomatic contact to resolve any misunderstandings." Vexran stared at the screen. The humans knew something was happening. Their technology was more advanced than the Council had estimated. But it was too late to change course now. Within hours, ships from across the galaxy were converging on the staging area near the Council frontier. Vexron watched through long-range sensors as the massive fleet assembled. Krieg dreadnoughts, Alterian cruisers, Zephyrion fast attack ships. It was the largest military force the Council had deployed in over a century, but something was wrong. Vexron's intelligence reports showed unusual activity in human space as, well, ships were moving, but not in the pattern of a species preparing to flee or surrender. If anything, it looked like humans were mobilizing for war. Impossible, Vexron muttered to himself. The humans had been in space for only 3 years. They should have a few dozen ships at most. How could they possibly challenge a fleet of 200 Council vessels? His aide entered the room with a concerned expression. High Counselor, we are receiving strange reports from our advanced scouts. What kind of reports? Sir, the humans appear to have extensive defensive installations around their colonies. Much more than our intelligence suggested. Vexron felt a cold chill. Show me. Holographic display activated, showing the latest scout reports. Vexron stared in disbelief at what he was seeing. The human colony at Proxima Centauri was not the small outpost they had expected. It was surrounded by a massive network of space stations, weapon platforms, and defensive grids. How is this possible? Vexron asked. Sir, it appears the humans have been much busier than we realized. While we were debating their fate, they were preparing for war. More reports came in from scouts observing other human colonies. The pattern was the same everywhere: extensive fortifications, large defensive fleets, and signs of rapid technological advancement. The humans had used their 3 years of isolation to build a military force that none of the Council members had anticipated: war. Leader Groktar's voice came over the communication system. All Council forces, this is Fleet Command. We are proceeding with the operation as planned. Human defenses are noted but should not present a significant challenge. Vexron was not so confident. He had studied human history extensively, and one thing stood out above all others: humans were at their most dangerous when they felt threatened and alone. The Council had given them 3 years to feel both. The fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward Proxima Centauri. 200 of the galaxy's most advanced warships, carrying weapons that had kept the peace for millennia. They expected to find a small human colony that would surrender immediately when faced with overwhelming force. Instead, they were about to discover what humans could accomplish when they knew they were fighting for survival. Vexron remained in his quarters, watching the fleet's progress through the communication network. Part of him hoped that the humans would see reason and submit to Council authority. But a larger part of him feared what would happen when two very different philosophies of peace met in the darkness of space. The Council believed in peace through careful consensus and gradual change. They had built their civilization slowly over thousands of years, always avoiding conflict through negotiation and compromise. In their view, the galaxy was peaceful because everyone agreed to follow the same rules. Humans, from what Vexron had observed, seemed to believe in peace through strength. They prepared for war while hoping for diplomacy. They built defenses while extending hands of friendship. And when threatened, they did not negotiate, they fought. The communication system chimed again with another human transmission. This time, it was Admiral Chun speaking directly to the Council fleet. Attention Council forces, we know you are coming. We have tried for 3 years to establish peaceful contact with your civilization. You have ignored us, excluded us, and now you are bringing weapons to our homes. This is your last chance to turn back and open diplomatic channels. War Leader Groktar's response was immediate. Human vessel, you are ordered to stand down. Your species has violated galactic law and must submit to Council authority. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Admiral Chun's reply came back within seconds. Council forces, you are approaching sovereign human territory without invitation or provocation. We will defend our colonies. Any attack will be considered an act of war. Vexron closed his eyes. 3 years of watching and waiting had led to this moment. The Council had tried to manage the human problem through exclusion and intimidation. Instead, they had created exactly what they feared most, a militaristic species with nothing left to lose. The fleet dropped out of faster than light speed at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. What they found there would change the balance of galactic power forever, but that was a story for another day. For now, Vexrun could only watch and wait as two civilizations prepared to discover which philosophy of peace would survive the coming war. The age of galactic consensus was ending. The age of human influence was about to begin with fire and fury among the stars. High Captain Zirthak of the Alterian Republic stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the Proxima Centauri system grow larger on the main display. Around him, 200 Council warships moved in perfect formation, ready to deliver their message to the rebellious humans. "Sir, we are approaching the human colony," reported his navigation officer. "Long-range sensors are picking up some defensive structures, but nothing our fleet cannot handle." Zirthak nodded confidently. He had fought in 3 galactic conflicts over his long career, and this would be the easiest one yet. The humans had been in space for only 3 years. How much could they have built in such a short time? "Maintain formation and prepare to broadcast surrender terms," Zirthak ordered. "This should be over quickly." As the fleet moved closer to the human colony, more details appeared on the sensor displays. Zirthak frowned as he studied the readings. There were more structures around the planet than intelligence reports had suggested. "Sir, I am detecting multiple space stations in orbit around the planet," reported the sensor officer. "At least 20 major installations, all showing signs of weapon systems." 20 stations was more than expected, but still manageable. Zirthak had brought the most powerful fleet in galactic history. A few human defensive platforms would not change the outcome. "Sir, we have a problem," called out the communications. "Officer, I am detecting massive power signatures from behind the planet. Something big is hidden on the far side." Zirthak felt the first hint of concern. "Show me." The main display shifted to show the hidden side of Proxima Centauri. What Zirthak saw there made his blood run cold. Dozens of massive structures floated in space, not just defensive stations, but enormous construction facilities, shipyards, and weapons platforms. The humans had built an entire military-industrial complex in the shadow of their planet. "How is this possible?" Zirthak whispered. His aide checked the intelligence files. "Sir, our last detailed scan of this system was 18 months ago. The humans must have built all of this since then. 18 months to construct facilities that should have taken years." Zirthak was beginning to understand that the Council had seriously underestimated human capabilities. "Sir, new contacts appearing on sensors," the sensor officer announced. "Multiple ships emerging from behind the planet." The main display updated to show the new arrivals. Zirthak counted 10 ships, then 20, then 50. The number kept growing as more vessels appeared from their hiding places. 100 human ships, reported the sensor officer. "No, wait, more are appearing. Sir, I count over 300 vessels of various sizes." Zirthak stared at the display in shock. 300 ships? The intelligence reports had suggested the humans might have 30 or 40 vessels at most. Where had all these ships come from? "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet," the communications officer announced. "Put it on the main screen," Zirthak ordered. The face of a human female appeared on the display. She wore the uniform of what appeared to be a high-ranking military officer. Her expression was calm but determined. "Attention Council Fleet," the human said. "I am Admiral Sarachun of the Earth Defense Fleet. You are in violation of human territorial space. You have 30 seconds to explain your presence before we consider you a hostile force." Zirthak felt his pride stung by the human's tone. How dare this primitive species threaten the mighty Council fleet? "I am High Captain Zirthak of the Galactic Council Combined Fleet. Your species has violated galactic law and must submit to Council authority. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Admiral Chun's expression did not change. "High Captain, humanity has attempted peaceful contact with your council for 3 years. You have ignored our diplomatic efforts and excluded us from galactic society. Now you bring warships to our homes and demand surrender. This is unacceptable. You have disrupted sacred Veltar meditation routes, Zirthak replied. You expand into space without regard for established law. The Council has voted to bring you under proper authority. We had no knowledge of any meditation routes, Admiral. Chun said, Your maps were never shared with us. Your laws were never explained to us. How can you hold us responsible for breaking rules we never knew existed? Zirthak paused. The human had a point, but it was too late for such arguments now. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You will stand down immediately. Admiral Chun's eyes grew cold. Hi, Captain. You have brought 200 warships to attack colonies full of innocent people. You refuse to engage in diplomacy. You demand submission without offering any alternative. I hereby inform you that any aggressive action will be met with overwhelming force. Overwhelming force? Zirthak almost laughed. His fleet outnumbered the humans 2-1, and Council technology was far superior to anything humans could have developed in 3 years. Admiral Chun, you are outgunned and outmatched. Do not make this harder than it needs to be. Hi, Captain, you are making a serious mistake, Admiral Chun replied. But if you insist on this course of action, you will learn what happens when you threaten human families. The transmission ended. Zirthak turned to his tactical officer. Prepare for battle. Target their largest ships first. Make this quick and decisive. But as the Council fleet moved into attack formation, something unexpected happened. More ships began appearing on the sensors. Not from behind the planet this time, but from all around the system. Sir, new contacts appearing throughout the system, reported the sensor officer. Ships emerging from asteroid fields, from behind moons, from sensor shadows. Sir, I count over 1,000 human vessels. Zirthak felt his confidence crumble. 1,000 ships? That was impossible. Humans had been in space for only 3 years. They should not have been able to build such a massive fleet. Verify those readings, he ordered. Confirmed, sir. 1,047 human vessels. They appear to have been hidden throughout the system, waiting for us. Zirthak looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. The Council force of 200 ships was completely surrounded by human vessels. They had walked into a carefully prepared trap. Sir, we are receiving another transmission from Admiral Chun, the communications officer announced. Put it through, Zirthak said weakly. Admiral Chun appeared on the screen again. Behind her, Zirthak could see the bridge of her ship, which looked far more advanced than he had expected. Hi, Captain. As you can see, the situation has changed, Admiral Chun said. You brought 200 ships to intimidate us. We have brought over 1,000 ships to defend our homes. I am offering you one final chance to withdraw and open diplomatic channels. Zirthak studied the tactical display again. His fleet was outnumbered 5-1. Even worse, the human ships were positioned perfectly to attack from all sides if fighting began. This is impossible, he said. You cannot have built this many ships in 3 years. Admiral Chun smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. Hi, Captain. You spent 3 years watching us and judging us, but you never bothered to understand us. When humans feel threatened, we do not hide or surrender. We prepare for war. Your technology cannot match ours, Zirthak said, though. He was no longer sure that was true. Perhaps not ship for ship, Admiral Chun admitted. But we do not need to match your technology. We just need to overwhelm it. And High Captain, we have had 3 years to study your ships from a distance. We know exactly how your shields work, how your weapons operate, and where your weak points are located. Zirthak felt cold fear spreading through his chest. The humans had been preparing for this exact situation while the Council debated what to do about them. Sir, we are receiving tactical data from our scouts, his aide reported. Human defensive. Installations throughout the system are powering up weapons. Sir, some of these weapons are showing energy signatures that match our heaviest ship-mounted cannons. The humans had not just built a fleet, they had turned their entire star system into a fortress. Every asteroid, every moon, every space station was armed and ready for battle. Admiral Chun, Zirthek said slowly, what are your demands? My demands are simple, Admiral Chun replied. Your fleet will withdraw immediately. The Galactic Council will open formal diplomatic relations with humanity, and there will be no further military threats against human colonies. And if we refuse, Admiral Chun's expression grew hard, then you will discover why humans have survived every challenge our violent little planet has thrown at us for millions of years. We do not start fights, High Captain, but we finish them. Zirthek looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at the tactical displays with expressions of fear and disbelief. The mighty council fleet, which had never known defeat, was trapped and outnumbered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Sir, what are your orders? His tactical officer asked quietly. Zirthek thought about his options. He could order an attack, but his fleet would be destroyed. He could try to withdraw, but that would mean admitting defeat to a species the Council considered inferior. Or he could do something that had never been done in Council history, negotiate with the enemy from a position of weakness. Admiral Chun, he said finally, I request permission to contact my superiors for instructions. Granted, Admiral, Chun replied. But High Captain, understand this, any aggressive move by your fleet will be considered an act of war. We will defend ourselves. As the communication ended, Zirthek slumped in his command chair. The simple mission to intimidate a primitive species had turned into a nightmare. The humans had not only matched Council military strength, they had exceeded it. His communications officer was already trying to reach the Council headquarters. It would take hours for messages to travel back and forth. Until then, two fleets would face each other in the darkness of space, waiting to see if this would end in negotiation or destruction. But one thing was already clear to Zirthek. The Council had created exactly the problem they had tried to prevent. By excluding humanity and treating them as a threat, they had forced humans to become the most dangerous military force in the galaxy. The age of Council supremacy was ending. And it was ending at the hands of a species that had been learning to fight among the stars while the galaxy's rulers debated their fate in comfortable chambers. Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the observation deck of the space station, New Geneva, and looked down at Harmony's Rest through the massive viewing window. The Council's ancient diplomatic station floated peacefully below, its lights twinkling in the darkness. But today, those lights would witness something that had never happened before in galactic history. New Geneva had been assembled in secret over 6 months, using construction techniques humans had perfected during their isolation. The massive station positioned itself directly above the Council headquarters, close enough that anyone looking up from Harmony's Rest could see the 1,000 human warships arranged in perfect formation around it. Dr. Elena Vasquez joined Sarah at the window. The xenosociologist had been promoted to chief diplomatic officer after her years of studying galactic civilization from the shadows. The Council representatives are arriving, Elena reported. All 47 species have sent their highest-ranking officials. They know this meeting will change everything. Sarah nodded. 2 weeks had passed since the confrontation at Proxima Centauri. High Captain Zirthek had withdrawn his fleet rather than face destruction, but the crisis was far from over. The Council now had to decide how to deal with a humanity that refused to be ignored. Any word from Earth? Sarah asked. President Martinez confirms our authority to negotiate, Elena replied. The entire human government is backing our position. No compromise on equality. Sarah smiled grimly. For 3 years, humanity had tried to join galactic society as humble newcomers seeking acceptance. Those days were over. Now they would join as equals, or not at all. The main communication system activated with a message from the stations. Command Center. Admiral Chun, the Council session is beginning. You are requested to join the proceedings. Sarah and Elena made their way through New Geneva's corridors toward the main conference room. The station was a marvel of human engineering, built to send a clear message about humanity's technological capabilities. Every surface was clean and efficient. Every system was advanced beyond what the Council thought. humans could achieve. The conference room itself was designed to impress. Large windows showed the view of Harmony's Rest below, while displays around the room showed the positions of human ships throughout the system. Any council representative could look around and see exactly how outnumbered they were. High Counselor Vexren appeared on the main screen, representing the council from their session chamber far below. His expression was careful and controlled, but Sarah could see the worry in his eyes. Admiral Chun, Vexren began, the Galactic Council has agreed to this emergency session to address the current crisis. We hope that reasonable beings can find a peaceful solution. Sarah stood and faced the screen. Behind her, Elena and the other human negotiators took their seats at the conference table. High Counselor, humanity appreciates the Council's willingness to finally acknowledge our existence, Sarah said. We have been trying to establish contact for 3 years. Better late than never. Vexren's expression tightened slightly. Admiral, the Council wishes to address the recent military confrontation. The deployment of such massive forces was unexpected and concerning. Concerning? Sarah repeated. High Counselor, your fleet came to human space with the intention of attacking our colonies. We defended ourselves. I would think the Council would understand the concept of self-defense. The Council voted for limited intervention to address violations of galactic law, Vexren replied. Your response was disproportionate. Sarah gestured toward the windows showing the human fleet outside. Our response was proportionate to the threat. You brought 200 warships to intimidate us. We brought enough ships to ensure that intimidation would not work. Elena stepped forward. High Counselor, we have recordings of Council communications over the past 3 years. We know that humanity was deliberately excluded from galactic society. We know that our attempts at peaceful contact were ignored. And we know that the Council planned military action against our colonies without any attempt at diplomacy. The Council chamber fell silent. Sarah could see representatives from different species conferring quietly among themselves. The fact that humans had been monitoring their communications was clearly a surprise. The Council acted within established protocols, Vexren said finally. Species are evaluated for membership based on their demonstrated commitment to peaceful development. Peaceful development? Sarah's voice grew harder. High Counselor, your own records show that most Council species were contacted immediately. Upon achieving faster-than-light travel, humanity was the exception, not the rule. We were judged and excluded without ever being given a chance to prove ourselves. Dr. Elena activated a holographic display showing the human analysis of galactic history. The pattern is clear, she said. Every species in the Council was welcomed after achieving FTL capability. Humanity was watched, judged, and excluded. Based on fears about our potential behavior, not our actual actions. Your species showed aggressive tendencies from the beginning. War leader Groktar interrupted from his position in the Council chamber. You built warships alongside exploration vessels. You militarized space from day one. Sarah turned to face Groktar's image on the screen. War leader, we built defensive ships because we detected organized galactic civilization and received no response to our peaceful overtures. When you ignore someone completely, they start to wonder if you might be hostile. We prepared for the worst-case scenario. And created exactly what we feared, Groktar replied. No, Sarah said firmly. You created what you feared. By treating us as a threat, you forced us to become one. If the Council had welcomed humanity 3 years ago, we would have been grateful junior partners in galactic civilization. Now we are equals who demand respect. High Counselor Vexren raised his hand for silence. Admiral Chun, what does humanity want from this session? Sarah had been preparing for this question for weeks. Our demands are simple and non-negotiable. First, humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Second, the Council will formally apologize for the exclusion and attempted attack on human colonies. Third, reparations will be paid to cover the costs of the defensive buildup forced upon us by Council hostility. The Council chamber erupted. In shocked voices, several species began protesting simultaneously. War leader Groktar's voice rose above the others. Impossible? You cannot demand membership and reparations after threatening council forces. Sarah smiled coldly. War leader, we are not demanding anything. We are informing you of the terms under which humanity will join galactic civilization. If those terms are unacceptable, we will create our own galactic order. You cannot simply ignore 3,000 years of established law and custom, protested Ambassador Thekmar. Watch us, Sarah replied. She gestured toward Elena, who activated another holographic display. Dr. Vasquez, please show the Council our alternative plan. Elena's display showed star charts marking human colonies, allied systems, and trade routes. If the Council rejects humanity's membership, we will establish the Human Alliance. Several non-Council species have already expressed interest in joining. We will create our own trade networks, our own laws, and our own military arrangements. The implications were clear. Humanity would not simply accept exclusion anymore. They would build a rival power structure that could eventually challenge. Council dominance. High Counselor Vexron looked around the council chamber. Sarah could see representatives arguing in hushed voices, trying to decide how to respond to this unprecedented situation. Admiral Chun, Vexron said finally, the council requires time to consider these proposals. Of course, Sarah replied. But understand that our patience has limits. Humanity has waited 3 years for recognition. We will not wait indefinitely. As if to emphasize her point, the lights in the conference room dimmed slightly, drawing attention to the view outside. The 1,000 human warships maintained their perfect formation around New Geneva, their engines glowing like stars in the darkness. High Counselor, Sarah continued, look around you. Look up at our ships. Look at the station that we built without your knowledge or permission. Humanity has already proven that we can match your technology and exceed your military strength. The question is whether we do this as partners or as rivals. The session continued for several more hours, but the outcome was inevitable. Faced with the choice between accepting humanity as equals or fighting a war they could not win, the Council chose survival. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was formally invited to join the Galactic Council. As the ceremony concluded and the official documents were signed, High Captain Zirthak approached Sarah, the Alterian officer who had led the failed attack on Proxima. Centauri looked humbled by recent events. Admiral Chun, I must admit that we underestimated your species, he said. We thought isolation would contain you. Sarah looked out at the human fleet, still maintaining its protective formation around the diplomatic station. Captain, you made one critical mistake. You thought isolation would weaken us. Instead, it taught us that we can only rely on ourselves. And if you are not willing to make room at the table, she paused and gestured toward the 1,000 engines burning outside. We will build our own table. Dr. Elena joined them at the window. The funny thing is, if you had contacted us 3 years ago, we would have been so grateful for acceptance that we would have followed any rules you set. We wanted to belong. And now? Zirthak asked. Now we belong because we made ourselves. Impossible to ignore, Sarah replied. Respect is not given, Captain. It is earned. As the diplomatic session ended and representatives from 47 species began the long process of integrating humanity into galactic civilization, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here. 3 years ago, Captain Sarah Chun had been an explorer hoping to make friends among the stars. Today, Admiral Sarah Chun was the architect of a new galactic order. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human influence had begun with 1,000 engines burning bright above those who had once dismissed them as unworthy of notice. And in the depths of space, new human colonies continued to expand, carrying with them the lesson that had defined humanity's entry into galactic society. Sometimes the best way to join a club is to prove you do not need it. The galaxy had spent millennia achieving peace through careful consensus and gradual progress. Humanity had achieved recognition in 3 years through preparation. determination, and the simple understanding that those who do not offer you a seat at the table should not be surprised when you build your own table right next to theirs. The stars belong to humanity now, not because they had been given permission, but because they had taken their place among them and made it impossible for anyone to forget they were there.